Welcome back to Vote Night on Active Trades, December the 4th, 2016, a day which may or may not go down in history as far as the Eurozone is concerned. I'm here with Nicole Elliott, who is the trader at the Investors Chronicle. How are you this evening, Nicole?
Well, very excited to be here, and nice to see you again, Zach, as always. And yes, it is quite a momentous decision time, isn't it, for EU?
Well, I mean, but we've been here before. I mean, this is, I suppose, it's almost like 5 years we've been in this emergency type of situation. We had the Irish bailout, you've had all sorts of Portugal, you've had the dominoes falling everywhere. Is this going to be an anticlimax, you think, or not?
Well, I do think Angela Merkel rather thrives on these last-minute, late-night, D-Day type decisions that she tends to get involved with. And I think this is just yet another of this type of politics that we've become used to now from the European Union, that, you know, you've had months and months to prepare for something, but we've got to go right down to the down the wire, I think, as we media people say. And it's just so tedious, really. It really is a shame. What we do have that's, I think, very different indeed is the Austrian election today, where for the first time in, I think, 70 years, neither of the main parties who have managed to rule the country for so long, neither of them was able to field a candidate. And I think that is important, and I think that's a good reflection of the change in attitudes, the change in political goodwill, political thinking, what we want to do. And it doesn't matter who wins here. The point is, your president is going to be an outsider. So just like Donald Trump is a political outsider, and Brexit is an outside. It's become
a freak. But politics has become a freak show.
I don't think a freak
show. You've got that clown. You've got literally the clown who's in charge of the five-star movement in Italy.
Well,
I can't remember his name. Is it Grillo?
Grillo, yes. Beppe is a very talented man, actually. He's quite a media rock star.
Can he juggle? Or what does he do?
Oh, he can sing, he can dance, he can, whatever, conjure miracles out of nowhere. I'm not saying that I approve of his politics, but yes, he is an absolute outsider, and it's the sort of thing, I think, perhaps Italy needs, because what they've been doing hasn't really been very successful recently. I mean, let's face it, since World War II, they've had 64 different governments, I think it is, Zach. Only one of which managed to actually last a 5-year full term. Well, this is just hopeless, isn't it? I mean,
so basically, they've got nobody else left who's not been tried out. So now we're into the clowns and the other weirdos.
Well, and Donald Trumps and whatever, call it what you want. But yes, I mean, we want fresh blood. We want something new. Things aren't working. It's all sclerotic, and it hasn't been working for decades. It's not Renzi's fault. It's the whole way it all works. Everything's sort of congested, nothing gets decided, everything gets stuck in the law courts and never goes beyond, no decisions are made. And it's not just Italy. I mean, the same thing goes, I think, for German politics too. Let's not blame it on the little periphery. It happens right at the very heart. And I think we're also seeing this in France. I mean, for the first time ever, your president is not running for re-election. I mean, that's how hated he is. Even he knows that he's...
What, with the 4% approval rating?
I
don't know how. It must have been a tough call.
I mean,
you spent at least 3 minutes working that out.
It's the first time ever that the incumbent is not going for re-election. It's really, really quite something. You know? Wake up and smell the roses, hey?
But I mean, it seems to me that the whole political process now is changing from. It's almost like it is a social media type of. I mean, we know obviously the pollsters have been discredited now. It really is social media almost dictating or ruled by social media in some ways, because the mainstream media is out of touch.
So I would agree with you.
So
there,
all we've got left is the Twitter sphere and the Facebooks and things like that, which are determining what happens.
And all this so-called false news or whatever
it is.
Fake news, thank you. I think think all of us as grown-ups must realise that as well as media, there is propaganda, and there's always been propaganda. There have been people who try to discredit whatever their counterparty or their competition, whether it's business or politics or whatever. We all know that. This is not new. Whether it stems from social media, official channels, government channels, or any other vehicle that you choose to pick your news from, well, it's up to you to decide whether to chuck it and just say, well, this is, these are these, nutters. What are they? Alt-rights now or something, I think they're called. And I was checking this out, but I do believe it's something to do with the keyboard. Is that right, Zach? You're sort of more techie than I am.
I think that is a possibility, but I think it was, I was actually reading about it myself the other day. I've already forgotten, but I thought it was just alternative. But I think that they're trying to pretend that they're not the totally ultra right-wing sort of forward/fascist that that people might think, but the whole issue with the politics is the fragmentation, and it is the way that an organisation like that has grown in America without the help of obviously CNN and CNBC and other normal means of communication,
or lobbyists, or cash behind them, or whatever you want to blame it on. And yes, I think it is quite interesting, really, that now, thanks to the internet, so many people all over the world do have more access to news, information, academic research. There's bits of it which are just fantastic. But it's up to us to keep level head and say, this is just rubbish. These are nutters on a soapbox.
But then, possibly a good time to go on to the main active trades type of area, financial markets. Has it changed? Has the political side changed the financial markets?
Not yet. I don't think we're there yet. We're not there yet. As the parent says to the child in the back of the car.
That was I think a trap door there, because it's definitely changed the bond market.
Bits of it. I disagree that
because let's say the central banks have since it's all tied together really. I suppose from 2008 you had the central banks basically controlling the bond market. Is that a fair thing to say?
Well, they like to think they do. I disagree. I think the bond vigilantes are the ones to look out for. Central banks also believed that they were rock stars, let's not forget. And they had the most wonderful magic tricks up their sleeve. And they could control people and economics and business and stock markets and everything. Well, thank God we now know that they're not. They're not.
Yeah, but the way that they were so authoritarian, and also the politicians have been like that as well. They just decided all of a sudden that we're going to have a zero interest rate policy. There was no vote on that, and in fact that's been one of the biggest social political disasters of the last 10 years, because it's enhanced or it's inflamed the inequality in society. So that was massive, that controlled economy, which China would be proud of that. Controlling interest rates in that way with no vote, no thought of the consequences, has been what the establishment is actually bringing the establishment down.
Well, I would take it even one step further, Zach, to say that the biggest mistake was giving central bankers independence. Because they don't answer to anybody. They just don't answer to anybody.
Yeah, but then who does these days? The politicians don't either, do they?
Well, no. This is what's so worrying. And so, thank goodness that we do every now and again have something called a referendum, where hopefully you can actually get your voice heard a little bit on one issue. All right, but yeah, every now and again.
The referendum, it seems to me like it's a bit like a social media vote. It's like everybody emails in their or a poll. You have these Twitter polls and everything else. It's the last throw of the dice for the old political process, really, because really we need a referendum on every issue, don't we?
Well,
we could have one.
We could be like Switzerland. Even the tiniest things in Switzerland are decided by referenda, right? Whether or not to have a spire on a mosque, for example. I mean, when I'm talking about little things. So obviously it can be done if you really want to. I mean,
Isn't
also,
that the way? That's the way we've got to go, though, isn't it? Looks like the way we'll have to go.
I don't know, we've got to go, but it's certainly something that should be considered seriously, in that all too often the politicians that we vote for do not represent the constituency, the people's thinking. They do not. They go off on their own track, their own sort of fantasist idea, their own aggrandizement and power kick. So, yeah, maybe they should be more accountable, certainly. And the other thing, let's not forget, is that politics has become a vehicle to tremendous wealth. Tremendous wealth. Yes, you did your bit of politics, you do your stint, and I've checked some of my data, but Tony Blair Associates, since leaving office in, 2007, I think it was, wasn't it?
Good timing.
So it's just a decade. Tony Blair Associates is guesstimate to have receipts of £140 million, of which 25 million has gone directly into Mr. and Mrs. Blair and family property portfolio. Now, if you think that's a lot, then let's just have a look at Clinton and Co, because they've done seriously well. They've got their foundation, they've got this, that and the other, and we don't know, but certainly out of their earnings, they managed to pay something like $50 million to the lawyers backing Bill Clinton's legal fights.
Right. What about the $3 million for Chelsea's wedding?
Yeah, and the billions in their foundation, and, and it's not here. I mean, George Osborne already, is he still an MP or not? Remind me.
I think he probably
He's probably
is.
still an MP.
Yes.
Well, he's just raked in 320 grand from talks. That's on top of the day job. And that, it really is. There's an awful lot wrong here, and I can see why people are so furious and are perfectly willing in Austria now to vote for Alexander Van Bellen, who I can't quite understand it, but he's not standing as a Green Party candidate.
Oh, I thought he was.
He's standing as an independent. No, I don't quite get this. But certainly, whichever way you look at it, he's 72, and he says he's standing for old values. I just wonder how old those old values are, but I think perhaps what he's trying to say, and it's been lost in translation, is that we want a slightly simpler, more honest approach to politics. I think that's certainly there. And then over in Italy tonight, well, they will do whatever they want to do. As to whether Mr. Renzi will actually stand down, that is a separate issue. He doesn't have to. He said he would.
Why doesn't he do like a fudge thing, like the Brexit thing?
Probably.
Is that the best? That's the best approach.
Sort of, yeah, maybe, yeah.
I think they should have done. They should have done the Brexit June the 24th. When Cameron resigned, he said, I'm resigning and I'm invoking Article 50.
Then and there.
Then and there. That would have been the best.
That was the right.
That's what I would have done. Unfortunately,
that's the Speedy Gonzales version of politics, isn't it?
That would have stopped all the. It would have, put a
legal wrangling.
Exactly. Yes.
Waste of time, hey?
2 years is plenty of time for all this, So.
Well, we'll get there in the end, won't we? I think
I don't think we will actually. No. But so there is. I mean, these scenarios here. I mean, do you think that just as we'll see where the market is in sort of 10-15 minutes, but the shock value of this vote, I mean, we should have factored it in, shouldn't we, really?
Yes, I think it has been. In fact, one of the things I was looking at to sort of, again, you've got to have your game plan here, but Austria is considered, shall we say, a sort of top-notch EU member. Now, they're not squeaky clean. Let's not make it all out. But I was looking because not that long ago they issued an index-linked 70-year bond. It's one of the longest out there. And basically Austria and Germany are on a par in terms of the sort of quality control. Not quite the same, but nearly there. And certainly that Austrian bond, it was issued just under par, but actually dropped to 88 euros per 100 nominal already this last week. Okay, so you can see people have priced stuff in, they've priced risk in, and we don't wait until we're told what the central bank is going to do. So that's definitely one to look at closely. Obviously, the euro is the euro, and I'd say that the election in the referendum in Italy is the more important issue there. So we have to wait for that.
So, but Italy was much easier to factor in because you could see the domino effect of Brexit and Trump. But from what you saw before, the market was. Don't you agree that the markets were caught totally on the hop by Brexit and by Trump?
Oh yes, because the pollsters got it all completely wrong. That was the point. That the pollsters had an agenda, in my opinion, which was then taken up by the media, egged along by the lobbyists and co, right? And I can't believe it. Despite the Trump and the Brexit, still, this last week, a number of very senior people were telling the Italians how to vote. And that included President Obama again, included Angela Merkel. Why? I mean, you don't tell other people how to vote. And it included Jamie Dimon. And again, it's all scaremongering. Did they not learn anything from Brexit and Trump? No, they haven't, obviously. They haven't. They're not listening.
Well, I mean, this is like a sort of French Revolution situation where you've got all the existing establishment not being able to believe. It was like a let them eat cake and not being able to believe where they've only got one tune to play, so they keep doing the same thing again and again.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. It's Marie Antoinette syndrome here, where they truly believe that they know best. I mean, it's not just telling people what to do, but in their heart of hearts that they know best. Obviously, it's also to do with feathering their own nest. Let's we've discussed this already, Zach. But the arrogance of this sort of liberal, elitist, I don't know what even to call them, because they're neither left nor right. It's this sort of people who live in a sort of bubble land. And, they're telling us what to do all the time. And I think people have just had enough. They've really had enough. And in Italian, you'd say, basta, enough. I've had enough of this. I'm not putting up with this anymore. And I think it's about time that more in Italy say, look, these politicians are all there, feathering their own nest. Nothing gets done. I mean, they've got 650 people in the upper house, you know, Zach. Mr. Renzi wants to cut that down to about, I think it's 300. Okay, a 50% cut. I think that's a good start, isn't it? But then I did my homework, and I was horrified to find out that in Britain, our House of Lords has now got 809.
They're all good people.
And they're all a-leaping at this time of year. 800 lords are leaping. Inflation or what? For our Christmas ditty. But yeah, I mean, it's just so top-heavy. And they just mix with each other. They socialise with each other. And you just don't hear other voices.
But the establishment as it is has been able to keep the whole the show on the road. You've got the property market still going up, so that keeps lots of people happy. You've got the stock market on a level. There's been no crash or anything else like that. But the bond market may be faltering, but
creaking
it's still creaking. But it's managed to keep all the everything on a level. And no banks have got and anything goes wrong, they just bail it out. The RBS situation, which nobody talks about, the Monte dei Paschi, all these other Deutsche Bank, which is effectively a joke, but it still keeps going. So there is, you've got the establishment put in there, haven't you?
Well, it's like those spinning plates. You can do it for a long time until you get too many of them. At one point. But the worst trade in town has been to bet on on a crash, hasn't it? Well, I would say I think you're really coming close to my favourite subject here, which is the banks.
Right.
Oh yes, Zach. Where do we start?
We can start.
RBS is a mess.
Yeah, but we can start.
And anyone who pretends that it can be privatised any time within the next decade is on cloud cuckoo land. I mean, that's just not going to happen. And as for poor Monte dei Paschi, I mean, it's trading at what, 13 cents? I mean, it's just nah, forget it. Their bad debts are just beyond anything we can talk about or amortise in any sort of way. And you're right, Deutsche Bank is the next plate to crash.
Well, what I've said to, I keep saying to everyone I speak to, is the doom mongers, is that with the interest rates at zero, you can keep writing checks ad infinitum.
Well,
if the debt doesn't cost anything, you can have a debt up to the stars.
Well, it's the land of the living dead. It's zombies, yes, marauding, and we know
But
this.
isn't the problem that the taxpayer doesn't understand that, so far RBS has cost £50 billion, or doesn't care, or maybe doesn't realise it's paying, or you've got these issues that the bailout money and the other support here is invisible.
Well,
and the media's
yes
not.
And no.
I mean, the media's not. Say it's 50 billion. The media hasn't said that for every man, woman, and child in the country, RBS has cost £10,000 over the last 8 years. Are you happy with that? And it's likely to cost another 10,000.
I think what's even more shocking is that the bankers themselves are still going around thinking that they are very important and should be listened to and should have special treatment, particularly here in Brexit land, right? I mean, these are just black holes, most of them.
And what about the £3 million a year for the CEO of RBS?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, that's rubbish money. It's the fact that they still truly believe that they are worth special status in any way. I've got equal gripe against the farmers who still believe that they should be subsidised ad nauseam. That is total zombie business.
Okay, well, speaking of zombies, I've got a couple of questions which have flooded in here. Will the Italian referendum be good for the UK?
Oh, gosh, that's a tricky question. I think it will underline the urgency with which the European Union should address these brewing populist programmes and problems that they've managed to sweep under the carpet for a very long time. I think hopefully we'll have a bit more sense of urgency, and that would be good for Britain, yes. I don't think it would be that great for Italy. I think they've got so many problems already. This would just be the sort of icing on the cake, really.
My question, which is related to that, is that given how soft the Brexit is at the moment, is there a chance that by the time we actually get around to wanting to leave the EU, there'll be nothing to leave?
I think that's a very real problem.
It will have fragmented by then. So by it's already March, April 2019. But let's say they delay it with the High Supreme Court does this and does that. And basically, it's 2020 by the time we're ready to press the button. By that time, France and Italy and all the other, we've got their currencies back, and you've got all sorts of things like that happening.
Anything could happen, Zach. Anything could happen. And I do think, as I say, the politics is really changing. And it's not just in the EU, it's global. So that is something that's building and growing and is unlikely to go away. And we've got to deal with that, face it one day at a time. But I also think would be very interesting, back to the banks, you've got all sorts of dominoes that might fall between now and Brexit decision day or whatever. The other thing, in theory, you've got 2 years within which you must agree the exit terms from the European Union. But the reality is that whatever's been decided on that 2-year period, it's crystallised and frozen. And the assumption here is that the EU might make life difficult for Britain, and they will negotiate as little as possible, deliberately delaying tactics for the next 2 years, because they believe that would be perhaps working in their favour.
Well, they get money, don't they? Get the money in the meantime.
Well, yeah, but the point is that possibly if you've got a fragmenting EU, different nations might decide that it's better to come to some kind of deal here. And if that momentum builds, then there would be a temptation, perhaps, to extend the negotiating period for perhaps another 6 months or whatever it is, or come to separate and more issues which you can deal with and agree with. But I think that's the real risk, that at the moment there's this 2-year sort of idea in people's minds that everything must be finalised by then. And I've got a horrid feeling that it won't be finalised, because life is not final. It goes on.
So what about all the Brexiteers? Do you think they'll just say after, like, if nothing happens for a year or two, they'll just say, OK, well, it's fine, forget it, it doesn't matter? Or are they going to take it on the chin, or is there going to be another wave of anti-EU fervour?
I think, if anything, there'll be more anti-EU in that, if they are perceived to be using delaying tactics to deliberately not.
But the High Court and the Supreme Court, they weren't exactly the most popular institutions in the world, and they're just literally, it's as if, again, they're doing an Obama, and they're telling people what to do, and people look at them. They're with their wigs and everything else, and thinking, well, they're just really not with the plot, are they? They're not exactly in the 21st century, are they?
Well, no, because I think they're coming from a very different standpoint, which is the minutiae of legal, contract law, blah, 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 blah. They're not actually... And this is their job. This is what they should be doing. They should not be mixing politics, popular opinion, media hype with decisions on jurisdiction. That's what they've got to... And I'm sure the Supreme Court is going to really stick very, very firmly to the points of law. Whether we like their decision or not, that's different. Whether we think they're completely out of touch, well, perhaps they are, but they're there to see how to interpret the law.
Which is obviously the answer they weren't going to come up with, which with Gina Miller, from my perspective, they just said, well, actually, it's not a legal issue. They could never do that, because obviously lawyers are there to get their fees and make money. But the correct answer would have been, sorry, this is not a legal matter. There's been a vote, and we're out of this. That's what it should have been. But they could never do that. No,
because they've been asked to do it, and they have to do it, whether they like it or not, whether they think it's correct or not. So that's why they're going to stick very, very tightly to their script. But yes, loads of people are going to say these men are just completely out of touch, out of touch.
Yeah, but lawyers are Remainers. Everybody knows that.
Are they?
They're all Remainers.
Oh, are they?
Because they get their...
But I thought they were going to make fortunes out of renegotiating everyone's contracts.
No, they got one of the deal is that they get all their new diktats from Brussels and apply them to the UK. And they've had that diet for the last 40 years, so they've had a party. They would never want that party to end. Plus, they get, with all the people who come to this country, the new people and the new problems that they bring with them and the issues, legal aid, etc., etc. That's their gravy train. So they'd never say no to the EU.
Well, I just thought they'd make a whole lot more, because every single contract it has to be signed bilaterally by everybody else you're ever going to do business with. So instead of just having one EU with which you're going to deal with, you've got, 200 different countries, each one of which is going to require...
No, well, the problem is that the establishment became, with most MPs are lawyers, and Parliament is obviously in that camp. And then you've got the judiciary. You've got so many institutions. It's basically anti-establishment. If you are anti-establishment, they are part of the establishment. They invoke the establishment. So the whole thing works in that way. So that's the problem. The little people, the voters on social, and the people on social media, they're up against. You've got a society divided in that way. I can't see a happy ending here on that front. Plus, you've got all these institutions which were started 200-300 years ago, which have no real application to the 21st century. It really is becoming out of date in a big way. The House of Lords in itself, you just mentioned the 809 or however many there are. They've got everybody in, apart from us, I think, probably at the moment. It's just unbelievable. They've got these quality people that who managed to get in there. I won't mention any names apart from Baroness Wolsey, but I mean she didn't give up her Baroness title when she left. I mean, you know, it just accumulates these people. The only person left now is probably Nigel Farage. He should be put in there as well. I think.
No, he's busy dishing out Ferrero Rocher chocolates.
I think that was a very
so canny.
A wonderful common touch there. But I mean, the situation, you know, the anti-establishment situation, I don't think that's going to get any better, especially with the internet. It's actually held a mirror to the establishment. Everybody now everybody would have Googled the High Court on last month when they came up with the Gina Miller thing. Now they're going to be Googling all the members of the Supreme Court. None of them will be been living in a caravan in their formative years. I mean, they'll all be the same Oxbridge types. The whole sort of, I mean, there's just they'll all be, you could imagine what they'll look like.
Eton mess.
Exactly. So it's just going to it's a chamber of horrors for the establishment, just looking through those people. And the people say, so what right have you got to, the unelected ruler is really not 21st century friendly.
Well, funny you mentioned that, because I was going to say, in the olden days, you had the monarchy, the army, and the clergy.
Yeah.
Okay, that was your ruling elite, yeah?
Yeah.
We're doing exactly the same thing today, but today you've got politicians, judiciary, and media.
Yeah.
Lovies.
Yes, the lovies.
It's the same thing. That is the elite, like it or not. And they sort of club together, gang together, go out together, on pally-pally together, and they decide what all of us should be doing. And well, sorry, it's changing. Sort of, to paraphrase Bob Dylan, the times really are a-changing. And hello, it really is time that these people started either feeling a little bit contrite or fearful.
Okay. So do you think that's going to... The time frame is the next 2 years?
I don't know if it's going to be a year or two or so, but I mean, we've got lots of elections coming up next year, haven't we, Zach? Remind me, what have we got first? Well, first we got Italy tonight, which might or might not lead to another general election there, probably within the next year, wouldn't it be? Then we've got France election. Then we've got Austria again. They've got general election 2018.
Yeah. So
that's definitely coming up. It's for sure. So there's so much on the horizon. That I think it's too straitjacket to try to pinpoint time as well as potential.
Right, got a couple of questions here. I think you've partly answered this one. Will the EU make it extra hard for the UK to leave as a measure for other countries to leave?
Well, it's a lesson to everybody else who might be thinking along these lines, yeah? And this is normal sort of threatening behaviour, isn't it? Like being a school kid, who got the first to be punished and very serious detention. As a lesson to anybody else who is going to play up. So I think that's just normal, and you've just got to expect that. They're not going to be nice to you, particularly when you've deliberately chosen to poo-poo them and sort of shake two fingers at them and say, I don't want to be in your gang.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I think they will probably make life difficult. But if you actually sit down and take each issue one at a time and try to sort of think about it, not dispassionately, but sort of weigh up the pros and cons, then most things are solvable. Everything is solvable. It's not the end of the world. The sky will not fall down. The financial markets might or might not implode. But one day at a time. And there are all sorts of things going on elsewhere that are so much infinitely worse. I mean, who do we want to pick? Zimbabwe? Venezuela,
Middle East,
Nigeria, South Africa, Turkey, Mexico. The EU is just one of many, many cogs that have been struggling since the so-called Great Financial Crisis. Lots of people are struggling, lots of interest rate moves, lots of economic theories and medicines have completely failed. And what is really sad is that Japan, in my opinion, is at least a decade ahead of Europe and 2 decades ahead, at least, of many emerging markets, and nobody has learnt the lesson from them. Nobody sat down and said, what can we learn? What went wrong in Japan? What about demographics? What about zero interest rates? What about currency manipulation? Not one had the humility to go over to Japan and say, could you teach us? Could you tell us what not to do?
Nicole Elliott, the trader at the Investors Chronicle, thank you very much for coming in tonight.
Lovely to be here, Zach.
Thank you very much.
Done. Thanks, Zach.
It was very good. Okay, do we have any prices to look at on the market? Have you got any prices there?
Prices.
The currency is open by now.
I've got some bond yield here.
Okay. No, but the actual live prices of the euro and everything. This is working. This is working. Oh, that's working. Is this working? Yeah, that's good, yeah. So there's some you got it on this hand. We've got it here somewhere. Below maybe. Should we have a look at gold and?
Yeah, let's start with the gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me pull up. I've got gold here as well.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the same one. Perfect.
Is the camera control working? Is this working or not? I don't know if it's working. It's a bit glitchy, I think. I don't know.
Senti, cosa succederà domani sui mercati finanziari?
All right. Thank you. I can start, yeah? Okay, welcome back to the Active Trades Vote Night, December the 4th, 2016. I'm here with Pratik Thakkar, who is from the House of Trading. You're the economist, I believe.
I'm a chief financial analyst.
Oh, right, so something along those lines. Right, we're just going to look at the gold price. What's your view on this? Because this has really hurt people, I think, over the last few weeks.
Yeah, certainly gold is one of so major commodity in the world that almost it affects the markets immediately. Here what we have in front of us is a gold chart daily, and this is the gold futures.
Oh. Okay, yes. We're back here with Pratik Thakkar. Probably a bit of sound issue there, but Pratik Thakkar from the House of Trading, looking at the gold market at the moment. And as I was saying before, this is a market which I think over the last 2 to 4 weeks has really caught out and hurt those many gold traders, commodities traders. What's your take on this market?
The gold is one of very significant commodity, and whatever happens to gold, it immediately gets reflected in other commodity market as well. So what we see here is that gold is coming down for last few weeks, getting better, and it's currently all trading under the EMAs, and it's smoothly came down from almost 1,250 to 1,177, and we still haven't seen the bottom in this one because the bottom is still far away, around 1,050.
Yeah, let's get that right again. Yeah, let's try and get the chart again in a second. But I mean, the fundamentals. I mean, not say the fundamentals, but I mean, I suppose the thinking in the market was that as soon as Trump came, if Trump did come to power, then gold was a buy. What happened to that theory, and why do you think that has been blown out of the water?
The gold is a safe haven instrument in this case. When the money comes going out from the gold, it means they have restored a sort of renewed interest, hopes in the American economy. So after the win of Trump, the market did shake, but then what happened is that American people and investors globally around the world, they think, hang on a minute, it may not be that worst case scenario like we were thinking before. So it brought some renewed hopes.
So you're trying to say that people have actually been impressed by Donald Trump?
No, not that way. But whatever he claimed, he promised in his manifesto, probably it's people are giving a second thought and says, okay, it could bring some good to America. And here what we see in gold market, that the price is going down, it means the capital is certainly flew from a safe haven instrument, in this case is gold, to the US dollar. And as a result, we see the plunge in the gold since the last few weeks, and that's more or less coincides with the election in America.
Right, and what about there's a lot of news about in India about the banknotes. How did that affect the situation? You would have thought that story would be enough to get gold buying in there.
India, one of the major exporter of consumer of gold, so demonetization of big notes, which is 500 rupees and 1,000 rupees, certainly did affect buying gold, because the gold buyers were used to pay in a big currency denomination to buy gold. Certainly, as of now, it's being stopped.
So that actually hurt gold. Even people might want to switch from paper money to gold, but they can't do it because of the.
Yeah, certainly that certainly did hurt gold, because the consumption of gold came immediately down.
Is that, you think, the main reason that gold's fallen?
Yes, we can say that, because there are two reasons here which are playing out. First of all, it's a renewed interest in American economy that puts the money
away from gold.
Away from gold, and this is we see directly in the gold market. And certainly the Indian demonetization, which happened on 8th of November 2016, it's almost 1 month past.
How bad could it get? That's the other point. Because this is it's a story that could run and run. This is the effects could last for months. Is that right or not?
In short term, yes, it can. We expect, ideally, say around up to 1 month to 3 months to see the full effect in gold. But as in India, government has promised to wait until 30th of December 2016 to get the things settled in terms of demonetization. Whatever happened, the effect we saw, it should get settled by that time, and eventually it should bring some some peace as we enter New Year.
So what are you telling to people? What are you telling people who are interested in buying gold now? Wait, or fill your boots, or what's the angle here from the House of Trading?
Well, certainly, gold looks beaten as of now. Well, I would say go with your guts and the technicals. We do look at technicals, and this is what we see on chart we trade. So yeah.
But I mean, the chart of the last, the year or so, you've just seen that block around, above 1300.
Yeah.
Three main failures there.
Yeah.
And doesn't that have to bring back 10,080, 1100? I mean, that type of area into focus.
Well, we once the gold touch 10,000 area in early 2016, and that looks possible.
Yeah.
It may go, given the current situation, should it continue.
Yeah.
But the question is when it will reach there, because gold is a market which has an element to surprise everyone, even the most seasoned trader and investor.
Right.
So
okay.
what I would say is that really go with the technicals.
Okay.
Do your maths.
All right, let's move along to crude oil. A big story this week as well. We've had the revival. What are you telling your subscribers now?
In gold, what we see, the price has shooted up in the previous week and the previous to last week as well, and that's mainly because of the OPEC meeting which happened in Vienna last week. So, as you may be knowing that OPEC decided to cut the oil production and to have a cap on daily oil production, but that is not yet officially done because they have to still take the agreement with the non-OPEC members, and I think they will should be doing very soon in coming weeks. So that news sends the ripple effect in the gold, in the crude market, and as a result, the price shooted up to the previous high levels, which we see just few weeks back, around 51.68 pounds dollar per barrel. So as of now, this is up, and until we see the whole effect fades away from this OPEC news, this is looking good to the upside.
Right. Okay, well let's move along to the next market here, which 10-year bonds. Is that something you want to have a chat about?
Yeah, that's right. 10-year bonds. Now, this is what we have in front of us as a U.S. Treasury 10 years bond. And 10 years bond, why we put this one first is because 10 years bond is a benchmark bond for almost all governments. Here, what we see on the chart is a weekly time frame, and as you can see, it has been going up very steadily since end of 2016 and throughout 2017, and this is because this is the yield we need to keep in mind. So the yields are increasing. It means the prices of bond is going down, and this is because of the political factor.
But we've been here before. I mean, we've had these spikes in the yields, and then we've come back down again. Is this any different from those temporary, 2-3 month spike and then back down again?
Well, given the current situation and with the so to say, surprising results of U.S. presidential election recently, this is what we see, and I would say that this one should be settling down more or less in coming time, and we need to make sure. We still need to understand that Trump has not yet assumed the office. He is going to do it next year. So until then, there is some hopes, renewed hopes, so to say, with investors across the globe. And this is U.S. dollars, so the money flows into U.S. dollars.
All right, just a question from a viewer. Why haven't gold prices gone up, or why didn't they go up prior to the Italian referendum? The price tends to go up when there are uncertainties ahead, like the UK referendum. Usually when the dollar is getting strong, gold goes south, obviously.
That's right, I do.
So it's a dollar story, or is it because the uncertainty of the Italian situation? Shouldn't that have been a reason for buying gold?
Italian referendum is, in a way, it's an internal matter of the country. Now, that has no direct bearing on the gold market.
Yeah.
Gold market has an inverse relationship with that of one of the major traded currency in the world, which is US dollar. Whatever happens to US, it gets reflected into US dollar and eventually on gold. We need to understand that the shuttle have the money moves between gold and US dollar is the money which big investors move around in search of safe haven. So there are two traditionally. It's either US dollar or gold. Italian affair, which we are talking about, which is the main subject of our discussion today, is, in a way, as I just mentioned, is internal.
So at this stage, it's too small to be on the big radar.
So, well, Italian referendum could have implications, but that is in a short term to medium term, and that depends on what the referendum result do come up. That is unlikely to have impact on a global level, and certainly not on gold. So what we have seen in before, you can see, as we've seen just in the previous chart, when presidential election happened in USA, that got reflected in gold. But here we don't see that one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if we can go on to another chart here. Maybe the final one of this piece. German bonds. I mean, I think this has got to be a referendum-related situation.
Yeah, the reason why we pulled up this one in the presentation is that the German bond, Germany being the one of the major and the strongest economy in European Union, and again, this one is a German 10 years bond, and these are yields. So these are the benchmark against for the euro. So this also reflects how much healthy the German government is. It shows the credibility. That's the reason why we pulled this up. As you can see, it's going up now. It's moving nicely from July minus a base point to a positive one here. And that's again people putting money into that one. So these yields are going up. It means the prices are going down. More people are investing, putting money back into German bonds.
Right. And do you think this is a situation that can be sustained?
Well, given the current political, economical situation or with a euro, that's very difficult to say. But we shall see how it's going to go.
Right, so
as we again, this is the last month of the year, and so there will be lots of settlement happening in the futures and the derivatives. There will certainly move the money within bonds to other instruments of financial markets, and when 2017 comes, it's a fresh year, new year. We shall see how it goes.
All right. Well, just to finish off at the moment, we've got the latest poll readings, which suggest this is broadcast on the state TV in Italy, with yes at 42 to 46 and no 54 to 58. So other exit polls are reporting similar results, i.e. that the no is well ahead, and so we seem to be heading for a bit of a crunch there in Italy. But in the meantime, thank you to Pratik Thakkar from the House of Trading, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much, Zach. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Andrew, maybe? Okay, welcome back to Vote Night here at ActivTrader. So I'm here with Dr. Andrew Lumsden-Groom, who's Chief Academic Officer at the House of Trading, and I always have to read that because it's a bit of a mouthful.
Sorry.
You change your name and your title and everything. But what do you think of the night so far, if that's not too much of a showbiz question?
Oh, I think it's absolutely brilliant. I really do. I think it's brilliant that the Austrians have voted not to move slightly further towards the right wing. It looks like the early polling numbers the exit poll numbers from Italy are looking like it could be a no vote, which would be interesting for the markets, but not so good for Europe.
But we've had a sort of maybe a happier mixture than we may have thought we might have had, because it could have been the Austrian right and then basically the chaos, the full chaos dose. So this is a bit sort of chaos light here tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. I think realistically, the Austrian would have been more concerning politically, but financially the concern for Italy is much greater. Although it could make for some really interesting markets in the coming week. Certainly our traders will be up bright and early for the opening of the European markets, that's for sure.
I mean, I think I've asked you this before. I mean, the papering over the cracks approach and the delays and the kicking cans and stuff like that, that's been the approach of the EU before, and then obviously you can vote again after the second time lucky, third time lucky. We've got used to the pattern here. I mean, isn't that what we should really be sort of focusing on now?
I think the problem is that, yes, you're absolutely right.
Why? I mean, it's a bit like the Japanese situation where that's been going on for 25 years, and every time it's like, can they do any more? Can they do any more? And they always manage to come up with some
rabbits.
Yeah. And so we just go on because there's no limit to. I call it a sort of financial comb-over. Yeah. Somebody's, they lose hair, and it's literally getting the hair from the subject I can relate to. So it's just combing over from with less and less and less, but still doing it. And aren't we in the same situation there? That we think that we're near the end, but that the end is just it's not happening in that way.
It's a little bit different this time round. Unlike Brexit, in this situation there is a lot of money at stake, and as we get towards the result from Italy, we are going to end up in a situation whereby there is a lot of debt and a lot of non-performing loans in the Italian economy, and without the reforms, nobody is going to lend that money. And if nobody lends that money, even in the short term, we're looking for strong negativity.
But the real issue here is that luckily or unluckily, the general public don't actually understand anything will understand very little about finance. You've got in the UK even you've got Royal Bank of Scotland, which is 73% owned by the taxpayer. It's costing every man, woman, and child X amount a year. They don't know about it. No. They're quibbling about the cost of the welfare state or the NHS, but they don't know which at least provides some good to some people. But the RBS provides nothing to anyone, and apart from the people working for RBS, so it'd be cheaper just to give them a pension or a salary. And just say, we'll pay until you find a job somewhere else. I mean, it really is quite embarrassing. But luckily for the same in reading across to the EU as well, the public doesn't understand about the negative yields on bonds and Deutsche Bank. It doesn't understand how bust it is. No. It doesn't understand how little chance it has of ever surviving or ever turning itself around. And that's the game.
It is, yes. I mean, that is one of the primary issues. If I'm really frank, one of the primary issues is that voters don't realise what they're voting for.
Yeah.
Most Italian voters, according to our analysts, it doesn't look like most of our Italian voters are informed enough to realistically make a viable decision. But then again, how many people in this country are informed enough?
But I mean, if Renzi's, the Renzi back me or sack me, really, what he's asking for is actually what they want, but they hate him so much, they're not voting for it. No. So the no is actually what they would be bad for them, which is what they're voting for. And it's the same. It was a bit like Brexit. The people who voted for Brexit were basically shooting themselves in the foot because the have-nots would have even less.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a thing there about wage growth in the terms of Brexit and the fact that mass migration does suppress wage growth long term, and we haven't wage growth in the UK is 17% below where it should be, which again, as we were looking earlier, it comes down to actually how much you need to earn to live, and the problem is that's differentiated, and we're seeing that in Italy as well. As we were talking about earlier, it is a case of Italy and the UK share certain similarities, whereas Austria and Italy really don't. As I heard Nicole saying earlier, Austria is much more like Germany than it is like Italy, whereas as you play that out, we do end up in a situation whereby, yes, people aren't informed enough, but at the same time, yes, they are voting to be shot in the foot. But again, effectively, what they're really voting for is against a technocrat that's been forced on them by Europe, against somebody, although he's trying to do good, they're not understanding why, and all they see is more democratic power leeching away from the sovereign state. Now, whether you agree with that or not, in the short term at least, you're talking about 200 billion of unsecured debt, non-performing loans, of which I think, if my analysts are correct, most of that is held by banks that are actually really owned by the Germans and the French. So they could accidentally, £72 billion worth of debt could accidentally disappear from the market tomorrow. Somebody's going to have to pay for that. And if the markets panic when they open, well, I believe they're about to open, aren't they?
They would have opened already.
Yeah. Oh, yes. If the markets panic, then we're looking at a situation where that could start to disappear. So the euro-yen's going to be interesting. And so
but we've had these siren voices for the last 4 years, nearly 5 years. When's the fan going to be hit by any organic material?
It's not. They'll find a way around it. They always do. That's their job. I agree with you fundamentally there. That's their job. But at some point, something has to give. I doubt it'll be this time round. It will hurt. But my concern right now is Italy and their banking system, and then the German banking system specifically, as you mentioned, Deutsche Bank. I think if the contagion spreads, the only banks in the world that are actually currently capable of withstanding that sort of activity are British banks. And even then we have to exclude RBS and we have to exclude Barclays right now.
Okay, well, we'll be back with some prices in a minute, but in the meantime, Dr. Andrew Lumsden-Groom, Chief Academic Officer at House of Trading, thank you for speaking with me. Let's get some... Can we get the prices from your... Because I've been trying to get those for the last... That'd be great. That's where the action starts.
Caso arriva una domanda, una battuta su YouTube c'è un pezzo dell'inglese.
Is that working?
Qualcun altro poi mette in sulla Brexit, qualcun altro scrive vai su rumors senza the user.
Oh, yeah.
Ciao Riccardo, come stai? Meglio o peggio rispetto a suo pomeriggio? È finita, per quello. Finalmente dopo 6 mesi è finita, ora non vedremo poi le conseguenze di questa cosa, però...
Stiamo seguendo tutti i giorni, euro-dollaro sempre più in basso, 1,0570, quindi andiamo a vedere ormai la discesa di 0,85, c'è il punto percentuale. Mentre più di un punto percentuale
Aspetta Riccardo,
il punto percentuale l'euro lo perde preciso contro lo yen. Si compra yen, Riccardo?
Yeah, I think the euro dollar's down.
Ich habe
Wow.
What's happening, Zach?
105.66.
Good. That's
It's about 105.50. It's like about this.
delayed. The IG one. Yeah, you see there. You see? That's what I need that one there. I think that's 60.
Va bene, Riccardo, senti, oggi hai
Non ti chiediamo più sì per il momento, ci chiediamo soltanto la
Double whammy, yeah.
me lo butti sto cipino, quando short.
It's I'm waiting for one to know that, and I thought you might get it on Friday. I didn't.
Well, let's get some prices.
All sorts of things didn't close at the levels I need. Down, all sorts of things, and they just missed it.
vogliamo tenere
Just
un
want to say it's not going to happen.
Normally means it's going to
In the time, yeah, exactly.
Andiamo per ultimo.
la mettiamo assolutamente ai 15 numeri reali dietro il gol, grazie a Riccardo. Quindi le prime sezioni parliamo di 1% in alto 40 a 60 10.000 con
How fat is that Mexican central bank? He resigned on Friday. I think he might have. Thanks, darling. Thanks, Kieran. Thank you.
as well.
Antonio, ci sei?
We need to have the active trade.
Antonio, ci sei? Ti controllo?
Are there any numbers on the website?
Allora, basta, un
This is where you get some business.
definitivo, però il 60%,
Oh, I can set one up if it's. I can do, or you could just new demo account.
No, it's just that with our platform. We've swapped our websites over. It might work now. We already have a demo account.
Yes, and last yeah, so all these things sort of Is it about that? Oh, yeah. No, it doesn't happen to
IG
Just trying to log into the MetaTrader platform with the virtual tools.
You're on ActivTrader.
Okay,
Do you have the password?
yeah, artists.
Those are all. That's all.
Halloween.
Cosa succede domani sul mercato?
6, 7, S. Capital or small? Okay, it's a demo account, right?
Virtual account.
Virtual account, okay, so that was the
They kept saying invalid account.
No. Ready, look, are you sure it's still there?
Now it's working, you're in.
Perfect.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Already. Ah, yes.
I bet you did. I was sneezing. Go away.
Allora, senti, quindi dobbiamo attenderci
Just go away. Yes.
i cavalletti, tanti cavalletti.
Okay.
Queste ultime tre sedute di forte rialzo sul mercato finanziario, poi ci rimangiamo
How far are we off the actual vote result?
Oh,
It's just the initial polls,
that was,
isn't it?
I can't remember. I can't remember what it was.
About 1 o'clock, isn't it?
Brain's gone. Oh, well, let's just have a look at the. I'll plug in.
I was euro yen there. It's down 1.3.
We'll get them from there. They're all on there. They're all on there.
Brilliant. Euro USD. Oh my goodness. What are we on? Hour? 4 hours.
All right.
Yeah.
Va bene, Tony, ascolta un attimo. Ti lascio un po' delle tue considerazioni, dopo si può magari di tornare in collegamento tardi.
Well, right in support now. 105588.
Okay, welcome back to the Active Trades Vote Night, December the 4th, 2016. I'm here with Ken from the House of Trading. We just got the initial prices here, looking at euro dollar on the 4-hourly chart here. Which I'll just get on. Hopefully you can see that now. Obviously, what's that? That was the recent history was the Trump spike.
That's right.
And then now we've got a little bit of a gap to the downside here on the 4-hour.
Well, it was always going to gap down, but I mean that hasn't helped things much because we're now approaching some support level. Another 20 pips, and we'll be on that support level pretty much of the previous low there.
So, what I mean, this is a 4-hourly chart. How would you be playing this now if you were sitting at home trying to take a punt? I mean, what would be your...
Well, you missed the initial move, obviously, so you're looking for it to pull back a little bit. We're on a 4-hour chart here.
Yeah. So, what would you be looking at?
We'll be going down to a lower time frame and having a look at that. But we all...
That's the hourly.
yeah.
And then the...
Look at the 15. Look at that. Look at that. It's happened very, very, very quickly. This early poll results, not a result, but the early poll.
So we're just about to break.
We're going through it.
The low there. What was that? Trying to get that level there.
Well, we're going into
Yeah,
uncharted, aren't we? We're going into uncharted. Could you go up to a daily, actually? Still level up where our next level is. Nothing for a long time. What about a weekly?
So you got that, what's that low there? Get that. Bit fiddly here, but 105.25.
105.25, yeah. 105.25.
So this is looking like what, a mid-move consolidation here after that, and then we'd go down another leg of the similar type. Is that what you'd be looking for, or is that a bit too
Well, it
extreme?
is consolidating, but that's just gone down in the last 15 minutes. That last candlestick.
Yeah.
And those are daily candlesticks. That last one is 15 minutes.
But, I mean, this type of thing, this channel like that, or you don't get into that.
Those channels just won't make any difference to this one, because it's just this sort of event, and when it has this kind of impact, it's very difficult to put lines on. If you can go to a weekly or a monthly, let's just see if there's anything else there. Are we on the Euro USD? There you go. So we're looking possibly down. Let's have a look here. Still on its way down, isn't it?
So 104.62 there, something like that? Is that? Yeah, that's the low of that. It's on here. It's on here.
Oh yeah. Oh, right. Thank you. But 104.6. Yeah, 104.62. Oh.
So basically, at this point, you'd be trying to come up. You've got to decide whether you think this momentum here would take the market for a retest of that level over the next 24, 48 hours, something like that.
Well, the way it's going, it's not going to be far off getting there. It's still going down there. Before the.
So we were basically 50 minutes into this now. So I don't know. Let's see what it opens.
It's starting to consolidate a little bit. I would suspect, but we're still on the way down.
Yeah.
That's still on the way down. If you'd have caught this under.
So we open at 105. Is that 105.86? Is that right or not? All right, today. So today's move.
That's the weekly. So sorry, you're on the weekly. Yeah, there we go. So how do you get the little?
All right, so we open at 106.43.
What are you reading? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Go down to the audio one. We'll probably. Yeah, that's right. So we opened at 106. Yeah, 106.43. Yeah. So in fact, you had. There was following the gap down. Had a pretty good move.
Well, what were we saying earlier? This is before we've got a final result. But just the concern around the poll at the moment.
So it wasn't factored in. This wasn't factored in then. So clearly wasn't factored in before the event.
What in my?
No, I mean the markets.
I think it was just hope that it wasn't going to
denial.
Do this denial totally. Look at that. That's just fantastic. We shouldn't be talking here. We should be trading this.
So but the problem here obviously is the stop loss. I mean, how you're trading it. How do you handle that type of situation?
If I'd have gone into that, I'd be out now.
Right.
I'd just leave it. I made a bit of profit. Well, I brought my stop right up. But what we're on there? We're on an hour.
Yeah.
I'd be watching it on a 5 minute and just see how it move across to a 5 minute. When you go down, obviously in time frames, you're getting more detail. That's still going. That's still going. Yeah. So you just bring your stop down.
So this sort of move here, where you've had the
well, this is a gap at the top,
obviously. But you've had that long. That's the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you could only retrace 10% of the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that shows a great. So that shows the great weakness, doesn't it?
Yeah. Terrific.
And then all the other candles hardly
it's doing nothing to the upside at all. It's not even slowing it down at the moment. It's
so is that sort of thing you tell you show you point to people and say, look, that's how you gauge whether a market's going to keep going or not, because obviously retail clients being what they are and what we know them to be, the first thing they'll be doing here is they'll say, this is oversold, I'm going to go against the tide. That's what most people are going to be doing. It takes much more.
It's still going. Wait, just sit on it. You've made your money. You locked in some profit. Yeah. I mean, if you've caught that, it's not the thing that I actually advise to trade. But as you get to know your charts, you've got to take the. It could have gone the other. If the poll was different, if you were in too early and you get caught out going the other way, you're going to be disappointed.
But what do you look at? I mean, here, for instance, I mean, is the main thing the initial gap? The initial. Say the
problem was the gap.
But this could be any. I mean, let's say this is like Monday morning on any market.
Yeah.
You've got a gap there. You wait 5 minutes to see what the first 5 minutes does, and then you've got your like a framework there.
Very rarely do you get that kind of move first thing on a market opening.
Yeah.
You might get some kind of move, but usually it's pretty flat, and you sit on your hands and just see how the temperament of the market, on whatever instrument you're looking at, is how it's developing.
And what about the stop loss? I mean, you know, you can see this. Got this moving average here. Is that something you would use? That's the 14 period. Can you use any of that?
I normally do.
As a trading stop?
Yeah, no, not as a stop, but behind the moving average it becomes an extra support or resistance level. So it strengthens your stop. But you'd be behind those if you can. When on a move like this, you forget your moving averages. You just watching the price. Look at it; it's still going.
So we're looking at 104.62, and we don't see anything between here and.
We're on Euro USD. How do you get this thing up at Andrews? So I can't, but not to worry. Yeah, it's well below what we. What did we say that low was?
104.62. The main low is 104.62.
Right.
And breaking 105.50.
So we've got another 90. So
yeah.
Got another 90 pips. Well, you just watch what you trade what you see, and at the moment there's nothing.
So is this? I mean, we're obviously here as a big extravaganza. Is this perfect trading conditions, or is it?
If you're in that, you'd be well pleased. I certainly would.
But this is what you're hoping for on a big news situation, that you have a
absolutely
impulsive move, a unidirectional move.
Absolutely. Your issue is the gap. But once you've got the gap sorted and you've got your candlestick started and you've got your move, then and it's a strong move like that. Stops above the candlestick, and you just follow it down. Just follow it down. Where would I put my? I don't know if I'd even use a stop on this at this present time, because it's just so weak. Looks like it's starting to level out a little bit now. It's having a go, but yeah, you're still going. There we go.
And those candles, I mean, they are. They're again. There's nothing as actually. I suppose that was the only candle there which actually beat the previous one. Well, those two.
Had a little up like that.
But nothing of it. I mean, no. Even on such a small scale, this is just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. This is a big event. This is a huge move. As good as Brexit, really.
Oh, let's just see one or two other markets if we can. Just. Pound dollar, this is the 4-hour one.
Can you stick it on candlesticks?
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh, look at that gap. There you go. That's a little bit trickier, but then again, if your stock was above, give it some room above that first candlestick, you'd still be okay. What are we here? Pound against the USD. Wow.
So 126. So this is a bit of a surprise that it's.
So USD is strengthening still, or staying strong. Pound is weak now. Yeah.
So this is, I mean, it's quite dramatic too, isn't it?
Really? It is, really.
It's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. Well, they've tried to save themselves. Look at the size of that gap for a start. Yeah. They've worked the price into it as the market's opened, and they've made that gap. That's so you don't make as much money as a trader, probably. They keep the money in the back, but it's still going.
Yeah. But that's obviously caught people out, because Friday it was safe, almost a safe haven buy there on sterling. And then
it's been brilliant. Look at it again. So, if you draw a line up underneath that, if you can draw something like that, then you can see that is a fantastic trade. Always going back to those points from this point here.
Yeah.
And just actually from this point to there. that's a bit low, but to this point you see that it's pretty.
For a 5-minute chart,
wonderful.
that is a very, very regular.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's nice. But this has changed everything. That's really exciting. Not that I get excited, but afterwards.
So we cleared out that area as well over 127.
Oh, we're on new highs. Absolutely.
And then the resistance came in below that. So it's a pretty weak scenario.
Yeah, I think with
because you had this peak, these peaks around just under 127.
well, if you look where the price is right now, that's at some sort of
Support.
If there is any support, it's around that area at that level. The next one would probably be down here. So quite a considerable distance down. Where are we there? 125.70.
So maybe see if it breaks 126.30, then be looking to that low there.
Yeah,
Something
but we're
like
not
that.
seeing any pullbacks at all.
Yeah. Let's just go back to the.
That's still going. Look at that. That's 5 minutes. So you see the detail of the move there. Slowing down, but it doesn't. Any time now we could get another long.
But the whole point is that there's no rebound. There's
nothing
just
at all.
Heavy, really, really heavy.
Yeah. Just this minor thing here, as you say, with these two candlesticks, and that's it. Yeah, that is perfect trading, really, isn't it? It's just so easy to manage. Just don't go for a cup of tea.
Is that something? So this is something you see once a year or something like that. It's just like a very unusual.
You see it on the big events. In a smaller way, you might see it on non-palm ferals, but Friday was pretty much a non-event.
And what do you do at a house of trading? I mean, you're looking at. I mean, this is. I mean, I would love to be watching. I mean, if I wasn't doing this, I would be sitting at home trading this. But I would love to watch commentary with people that hopefully know what they're talking about the markets like this. Is this something you do?
Here we go.
Is this something you do?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Time to be careful. It's just getting that bit of support we were talking about, isn't it?
But is this what you do? Do you take, is it the hand holding, or do you do the going through trades, and what do you do?
Oh, there you go. You're out now.
Yeah.
You're out. You've stopped out. So I say don't go for a cup of tea. Can you come back to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're disappointed. Now, trading is very much about your own personality and fitting it in. Nobody can trade like me. Nobody can trade like you. You do it your own way and fit it to your personality. And when it starts to work, that's what you've done. You've actually. Trading is not about getting rid of emotions. It's that you're more frightened. You're showing your emotions while you're in front of the screen.
So there, we take out that that little peak area.
Yeah. Yeah, you're out of the trade at this point. But there might be some more news because it's still ongoing.
Yeah. So another poll result or something like that. Or
or a slightly better one.
Yeah.
If it's going in the right direction, sentiment drives markets. And
so
what do we do at House of Trading? Well, up to 5 days in advance, we look at the sentiment possibilities, and that's it's like a push to your technicals. So you look at your technicals always win. But knowing if there's a big announcement coming out, we stick a few warnings on there so you're aware of it. But the big moves come with volatility. It's just it has to be controlled volatility. That is controlled volume and momentum until this candlestick. And as soon as that started, I'd have just got out because these things, they come down quick, they go up quick.
Okay, let's just have a look
It's failing now, isn't it?
Let's have a look at sterling, because what's that done? That hasn't really moved at all, has it?
You're getting a bit of a doji there, isn't it? No, it's still.
Doesn't look like it's
although that is.
I didn't think that's been updated. I don't think it's been updated actually. That one.
No.
Right, so back at the euro and incredible move.
Yeah. Well, it's just stopped everybody out basically. Who was chasing it. But you've had a good move there. So that's great. You'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Any other crosses you'd be looking at the moment then? It was a euro yen?
Let's have a look at the DAX. Yeah, let's have a look at the dates. Is that,
Let's see if we've got that
is that
open.
actually live?
It would be probably from. See if we can find this.
I think I'll be on. But I think that's. I'd look earlier on my phone, and it's. It looks pretty stable. Nothing much happened.
Get there in a minute.
The euro yen. Must be up. USD yen. Euro. Sunday.
But I think that one didn't take out that.
No, definitely the euro USD was a much nicer move.
That's the pure trade, isn't it? I mean, that was, you wouldn't.
It's a good choice from you because I've been watching the euro yen.
Right. Well, and I just stick to the simple, stick to the obvious thing. I'm trying to find.
The indices.
Let's see if we've got the indices here. Well, just what's this? The Italian December. What's that?
That's the Italian indices. Is that open?
I'm trying to find the.
Yeah, no, not showing. We've got to show all.
Well, we'll probably come back and have a look at that.
Yeah,
but
indeed.
At the moment, we'll just finish off with the euro.
You had the Italian indices there, I think. Right?
Yeah, but it wasn't updating. So here we are, 105.
We're going again
46.
now, but it stopped everybody else.
All right, well,
I think this is going to consolidate for a little while now because it's had its move, and we've had that interesting candlestick there, but it just tested again.
Question, a little technical question here. What's your take on the rule that
it's not going to close for a while?
Almost. All right. So pound.
That's a really good saying, but gaps do close. We don't like vacuums. We like to close that.
All right. So
it's not going to close.
So there we are. The pound
closed.
pound Aussie did close.
Yeah.
So there's always. But that
that was a totally different situation. I wouldn't have liked to have entered into that one. You'd be out pretty quick anyway. Stop above the first candlestick, you're out straight away. So that's there it is.
That's just how. This is going to work.
Was that highlighted or still faded?
Not sure whether this is.
Top we've got for now, haven't we? What is that? Does that make any difference? It's an hour chart.
I don't know if that's moving actually.
Yeah.
We'll try and find some indices. We'll come back and try and find some indices in a minute. But in the meantime, thank you too.
Oh, thank you. That was interesting, wasn't it? Yeah,
Thanks,
keep it simple. Keep to the Euro USD. Yeah, don't
Thank
get
you very
clever.
much.
Thank you. Oh, I better take this off.
Well, we'll be back in a sec with more from the markets.
Adesso facciamo così, chiedo ai miei ospiti che sicuramente ci stanno ascoltando tutti, facciamo dei un po' più brevi, così sentiamo tutti quanti. Vittorio vedo che sta collegando, da Piseti, buonasera nuovamente.
So have we got any results yet then? Or it's just guesstimate still.
Yeah, more just a guesstimate.
Okay. Jeez, in fact.
Quindi cosa succede domani? Facciamo.
Trying to get some.
Prices.
Senti, domani cosa dobbiamo fare noi investitori italiani che abbiamo i nostri soldini sul mercato?
It's December the 4th, 2016, and starting to get some action here on the financial markets, key levels being broken, or in some cases smashed. I'm here with Nicole Elliott, who's the trader at Investors Chronicle, to go through some of the moves that we've seen so far. Probably, I suppose, euro-dollar the most important one at the moment. I think we're around 105.35, something like that. What's your call on that?
Technically, this 106 level was very important, and I was hoping that the market would close below that on Friday, which completes an enormous symmetrical triangle consolidation phase that has dominated for nearly 2 years now. So this is a big chart level. It is a big break. It's not the end of the world, but it does matter. And certainly it suggests that the trend to euro weakness, which has been going strong already now for 3 years, so this is not new, this is not the start of something, it's just carrying on, more of. The break below 105.60, which was this year's low, that is the other important bit. So the picture technically is always building. You're waiting for certain things that you're looking for, you're preparing, and you have a game plan before you go into it all. So this was my game plan already on Friday. Unfortunately, I didn't get my weekly close below 106. It wasn't clear enough. So I've had to wait. But this will be my next signal now. And I would suggest I would want to go short the euro, and I think it's going to go below parity. In fact, my measured target based on the symmetrical triangle is I can't remember if it's 96 cents or 98 cents. I can't remember. Let's call it 97, just to round it up and be in the middle.
All right, well,
it's an important move lower.
We've got the euro 105.32 now, just going to the lows of since the market opened. We were looking at this with Ken from the House of Trading a few minutes ago. 104.62 looks like the lowest we've been
in the last couple of years.
Yes, exactly.
Correct. So that's why I said it's not the end of the world, but it is moving in that direction. And I think you can see that this symmetrical triangle, which has been such a straitjacket now for so long, is beginning to melt, whatever you want to call it, give way, and we see a continuation of the euro weakness against the US dollar. Obviously, this is also US dollar strength, okay? Yeah. It's not one-sided. I mean, so far, in terms of financial markets, we've got Sydney and Tokyo open, and Singapore now opening up as well. So you're going to start seeing more people reacting to this, and I think the more people who realise that we have broken an important chart level, the more the move will sort of feed on itself.
But wasn't there some complacency really going on Friday? I mean, the markets were actually quite chirpy, and as you said, some of the levels you were looking for to go short, let's say basically short or short, weren't triggered, which was almost suspicious in a way.
Yeah, to me, it's just such a bitter disappointment because I had it all planned out. I had all my strategies all mapped out. And just one thing didn't quite do it. The other one didn't quite do it. So we've got important chart levels, not only on the euro, but on some of the indices. So one of the ones I've been looking at is the Italian MIB index, which is a sorry little specimen. I mean, we are trading at the sort of levels that we were trading at in 2009. Okay, so this is real miserable little performer. And most of the last 6 months we've managed to hold above 16,000 on the MIB. And if that goes, and I'm fairly confident that if we get a no result on the referendum for Mr. Renzi, and especially if he then decides to make good and resign as he said he would, then I'm pretty certain the MIB will break the 16,000 level, in which case I'd expect it to drop to about 13,000, which is just shy of the lows we got to in 2009 and in 2012. So in other words, we're right back down at the bottom. And let's not forget, this has been such an atrocious performer in that now at give or take 16,000 and a bit where we closed on Friday.
This is the
It is
December
a
one.
fraction of peak. Yeah, we peaked in 2007 at 43,000. So I'm already, before I even talk about my move and the referendum or anything, we are already trading at about a third of peak value. So it's really pathetic. I mean, this is really bad news all round. Obviously, then we've got the Italian banks that we're going to have to be looking at, and it's not just the most famous and oldest bank in the world, which is such a shame. I mean, how can you run a decent bank for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and then you let the whole lot go to pot just like that in a handbasket? And then you've got some of the bigger banks as well. Let's not kid ourselves, but UniCredit is not in great shape either, and that's one of their biggest. They've also had problems with their expansion into Austria. That's one of the problems that the Italian banks faced, right? They expanded into Austria, assuming that whatever, everything would be fine and they'd be sort of have advantage of being some of the first in the region. And unfortunately, that's not been the case, so that's not terribly good. The other thing, of course, to look at is what's going to happen to the Italian government bonds. Now, the yield on those has already backed up very considerably over the last 2 months. So from about 1.25%, they hit 2.25% last week. So already, that is a big move. The problem there is that it's at 10 times the yield on a 10-year Bund. Okay, so 10-year BTB, it's not that it's yielding 1% or 2%. It yields 10 times what a German one does. You cannot compete. If your biggest competitor and the bulliest and the most muscly one has financing conditions at a fraction of yours, you're never going to get out of the mire. I mean, it's just perennial problems like walking through quagmire. That's how I describe it. Really, really very sad and very unfortunate, and I feel very sorry.
Well, I mean, the yields at 2%, 2.25 or 2.3, it sounds like a joke. I mean, considering where Italy is now, I mean, that's just a ridiculously low yield, isn't it?
Well, Zach, I'm old enough to remember when the Italian government could not borrow money for longer than 18 months. BTPs didn't exist when I started trading. They didn't exist because nobody in their right mind would lend Italy money for more than 2 years. They could do a few floating rate notes, that they did that, but the whole of the Italian government was financed on a short-term basis. The whole BTP thing is in my lifetime, so we could go back to something like that people just won't lend. It doesn't even matter what the yield is. It's irrelevant. You might find yourself absolutely shut out of certain types of funding. And I think there is a danger there, particularly with the state of the banks.
The problem with that is that obviously that makes it much more difficult to keep the ship afloat, the banking sector ship afloat.
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Already the debt to GDP is catastrophic, shall we say. And let's not forget that 20% of Italian GDP, which the government has included in their calculations, 20% is based on what we call this sort of grey market. That's the polite term for it. Right. It's actually dirty money. It's absolutely filthy. Mafia, Cosa Nostra, Ndrangheta and co. I mean, Mafia alone is estimated to produce 7% of Italian GDP. So if you took 20% of GDP out, your debt is something like 165% of GDP. 165% of GDP straight away before you even look around is gone in that. Yeah, it's really very worrying indeed.
And I mean, the other point is, let's say the euro is just approaching 105 now. If it went to parity, and I mean the irony that if it did actually have a severe devaluation, that would probably be the last. I mean, that's the only hope really to save the Italian ship. A much weaker currency.
Oh, it'd be fantastic for Germany. No, that's who's benefiting out of this. Fantastic for Germany, absolutely. And yes, it does shrink your debt a bit. Yes, if your currency gets devalued, it does shrink all your debts a bit. But I don't think this is a solution for Italy at all. No, it's too late for that sort of stuff.
Okay, well, thank you to Nicole Elliott. Thank you for your further thoughts. Nicole Elliott, the trader at the Investors Chronicle.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ask the boss. Ask the boss. Yeah, that's good, man. Yeah. Yeah. But that would probably be the low. Once he speaks, that's if somebody speaks, that's normally the low.
Sempre più vicino a 1,05.
At least in Britain, they tell you the results before they're allowed to talk about it. How are you doing, Rushy? You haven't had a break in 3.5 hours.
Well, I did. Yeah, but I'm used to this with the the show, tip TV things. Normally it's like 8 till 11 or something. Just different people, different topics.
Allora, basta. No, ci sta. 1,0526. Occhio. Allora, vediamo
Eccoci.
Siete messi?
Swap screens? Can you swap screen?
So what should I do?
Swap screens, because if I take this down, they're going to see.
Okay. What's to what? To this?
Next.
What do you want to see?
Yeah. You all right?
Yeah, take a seat. Zach, that's yours.
This mine.
That's for Zach.
Oh, this way. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Active Trades Vote Night, here with Pratik Thakkar from the House of Trading. What's your view now? We've got basically Renzi on the way out. Is that the end of the move for the markets, or how are you seeing it at the moment?
Well, at the moment, the results started to come from Italy, and as of now, Italian Prime Minister Mr. Renzi is speaking, so we haven't got the confirmation yet officially what is the result, but given the sentiment of the market, the markets have already factored in, and as you can see right on the screen, it has fallen significantly. Look at the fall, it's just a smashing, it's got better.
Well, this is the 5-minute chart, but basically what happened for people who weren't watching the markets at the time, basically as soon as Renzi came on, that turned the market around. I mean, that's like, sell the rumour, buy the news.
Yeah.
So now we've got some stability here for around above 105 for the euro.
Yes.
So basically the market's got what they want, or the people got what they want. They got rid of the Prime Minister. Now we move on.
Now, the market will do what it wants to do, basically. But what we see here, right on the chart, is the reflection of the event as and when it's happening. So there was a huge sell-off, but now it's coming back. So certainly there is some profit booking as well, as we can see now. So it should get settled. It should get settled as we move ahead.
I mean, do you think this? I mean, the event has been much rather quicker maybe than people anticipated. He's basically resigning, or said he's going to resign. So, how do you play this on a greater scale? I mean, do you look at other markets other than the euro dollar, than gold, and what's the? I mean, gold has been in a negative situation. I'm going to try and get the chart of gold up in a second, but basically. It has been affected by this situation. You can see that on the 5-minute chart. We were around 11.77 overnight. We've rallied about $10 at best.
Yeah.
The trend has been down. Would this be a selling opportunity?
In terms of gold, it's you can see there is a gap now, and the money has flew from euro to gold in the search of safe haven.
Yeah.
But realistically, what happens is that the prices, or in any market, let it be commodity, it comes back to its pivot point, in which in this particular market it should be we ideally looking for some pullback in some time as the market do get settled.
Right. Okay. So we'll leave that as it is. I mean, any other areas you'd be looking at the moment then, in terms of opportunities or things to watch out for?
Well, at this hour, I think the Asian market would be good bet to look into. So Japanese currencies, Japanese basket, and Australian dollar, for that matter, would be very nice to look at the moment.
Right, okay. Well, so take what, Aussie yen?
Aussie yen, yes. We can also take a look at USD, Euro JPY. That would be also very nice to look at in the given situation.
Try and find that in a second. Right, so there we are there. So we had that move down to, what's that, 108.70 or so.
Yeah.
Bouncing back. But I mean, the pattern with all of these has been quite similar, with a gap down and then gradual recovery.
Then the gradual recovery, yeah, that's right. Now here is the, in Euro JPY, what we see is the massive sell-off in Euro. Generally, as of now, the Japanese yen is also weak because the Abenomics is very shaky. So otherwise, Euro would have upper hand on JPY. But in the given the particular, in this particular situation, Euro get battered by Japanese yen.
Right, and I mean, and what about dollar yen? Is it going to be sidelined at the moment?
Let's take a look. So that will give us very clear answer. We are looking at a 5-minute chart, right?
Yeah, we're looking at the intraday chart. So, getting the similar pattern. The only thing is here we managed to fill the gap.
Yep.
But this is, I mean, the uptrend here. I mean, looking at let's say the 4-hourly chart. I mean, that has been a solid
up one very nice smooth movement since early November.
And will you be looking at the trend? The trend
has
just been broken. Yeah. But I mean, that looks as though the trend is broken, at least temporarily. But you wouldn't be looking so closely. Is that right? I mean, the hourly chart is a bit too tight to well, this is a 4-hour chart actually. But
This
but the trend here basically is still an uptrend.
Well, 4-hour is industry-wide benchmark chart for the institutions, so we would certainly look at this one before taking any trades into a shorter time frame. So this would be our anchor chart. What it is mainly used for is to see the general direction and the trend in which the currency pair is moving. So we will definitely look at this one and see that it has temporarily broken down. So then we would scale it down into the ideally 1 hour or a 15-minute as you prefer. So it would be also good to take a look at hourly chart. So exactly, you can see this is the trend line which is pulled up in the 4-hour chart. And hourly, it's had 3 bounces, and then finally it broke down. So looking at the 4-hour chart, we can confirm here that it's going down now. And if we scale it down to say 30 minutes or even 15 minutes,
there's a little bit of moving out of the euro, looking for a safe haven, going to from the euro to the
gold, and the yuan as well. Yeah, that's right.
So a change of sentiment there. We'll watch that to see whether that continues.
Change of sentiment. Markets were already nervous about this Italian constitutional referendum, but certainly until the results are confirmed, they don't know what's going to happen. So they become increasingly nervous, and Euro was behaving already. They were factoring in these things already for last 2 weeks. And finally, it's broken down now.
Okay, well, let's just see if we can have one more market to look at. What would you be looking at? I mean, the Aussie dollar, or is that too far away from all this at the moment?
Aussie dollar is too far away. I would say GBP, Euro GBP is a good to look at as well. This is a channel, we call it.
Yeah. No, we're not getting too much.
That's on minute basis. Will be very quick.
It doesn't want to give me the full charting there. But just finishing off then, just with the cross, which has, I mean, it's surprisingly moved quite a lot. I think with the pound dollar, so we can get that.
Yep.
We're getting that at the moment. Seems there's a bit of a glitch there, but we'll leave it there for now. But hopefully we can get back to you with some more markets a bit later. Pratik Thacker from House of Trading, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Zach.
Thank you. No, I mean, I can say goodbye or something like that. Well, I think we've done, the point is that the indices aren't here, so that makes it a bit difficult. But we've done the chart. I mean, I think we had a good, looked at everything. I'll just, Okay, well, that's the end of the Active Trades boat night, the end of Matteo Renzi in Italy as Prime Minister, and also a big move down on the euro-dollar. So far we've held 105, but we'll see whether overnight the situation improves. Clearly, given the way that there hasn't been any transparency or clarity on exactly what's going to happen next, the markets are down, but not quite into the panic mode yet, but we'll see what happens. Thank you for joining us tonight on the boat night and with Active Trades. I'm fine. I've never had so much water in my life there. So actually, I'll go with it and get some.
Allora, ci abbiamo
Spent 35 years like
oramai l'esito è fatto, Giovanni. Potete andare a letto. Buonasera nuovamente. E cosa? Prego, vai.
Und ihr habt auch die Margen.
Aber peggio ancora di prima se possibile. Allora facciamo una cosa. Non ti sento bene, no? Facciamo una cosa, vado a salutare altri ospiti e poi torno nuovamente da te perché mi sono impuntato. Voglio sentire.